So Mehmood, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of technology. But before we go into technology, can you tell us a little bit more about your own background? Where did you grow up?
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for the opportunity. Grew up in South Africa, a town called Nelspruit. Well, it was a small town back then, but now it's the capital of Mpumalanga. Very much Eastern Transvaal. Those days, lots of outdoors kind of thing, and sun, which I miss. Hopefully, I'll go back there one day.
And when did you move to Gauteng?
University. So As soon as I got into university, I did a BSc in mathematics and computer science, and moved up to do my degree at WITS.
And can you tell us what was your dream career when you grew up?
Honestly, well, it started out, I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer in my early days. But then around the time I was 14 or 15, I got introduced to computers. And I just wanted to be a developer. I didn't want anything more than that. I was very keen just to play around with technology at the time. So it was a passion of mine. And I was hoping that after university I could help companies develop software. That was really what I had in mind. Nothing more than that.
And is that how you started at SAP?
No. So I started as a Java developer for Anderson at the time, and then did some work for some of the big five, but very quickly kind of got into management consulting, ID strategy, that kind of stuff. When, especially as we were leading, it was just after Y2K, and a lot of companies had spent a lot of money on trying to save themselves from Y2K. So after that, the question is, we made all of these investments, what do we do? So I found that I had a ability to build a vision, build roadmaps for companies, and that's what I got into. So when SAP started building a team that was focused on building the future for their customers, that's when I joined to start that team.
And then today you are the Chief Operating Officer of SAP Africa. Can you tell us a little bit of what does this entail?
Sure. It's a bit of an amorphous role, to be quite honest. It deals with operations, which I think is the easy part, the day-to-day running of the organization. But it also has to do with building the strategy, building how we define ourselves in terms of our go-to-market, where do we invest, and then there's a lot of special projects as well when it comes to introducing new technologies into the market, and some of the special projects we have in Africa, for example, building the skills base, etc. So it's quite broad, but it has to do with both operations and strategy. I like that because you get to do the day-to-day stuff, make sure the engine is running, but also ensure that you have a 24, 36 month kind of outlook, which I enjoy.
And Mehmood, looking back at your career, who inspired you to go the extra mile?
Well, there are many people. I think it comes down to, in every role that I've had, in every job, in every company that I've worked for, there have always been people that I learned a lot from. One of the things I learned very early on was work ethic, which I think is absolutely critical in this environment. And I think that with a built-in curiosity, I think in this industry you have to be curious. And I found that the one great thing about working at SAP is you have a lot of curious people, which means we like to find out new things, we like to do new things, we like to drive things forward. So it's not just my mentors or my leaders. What inspires me is the fact that every day I come to work, the people at SAP are quite passionate about this. Everybody from your most junior developer to the most senior executive has this passion. So that helps me. No individual, it's just everybody that I've worked with. I've been quite lucky.
And looking back at your career, would you say there was a turning point?
I would say so. I think, probably every kind of role that I've had has been pretty much, I would say, being in the right place at the right time, to be quite honest. But I think the one thing that really gave me a lot of experience is when SAP was starting up its operation in the Middle East. And at the time, SAP was very small in the Middle East. Nobody really wanted the role. So I applied for it, and I got it simply because I was the only candidate. But that taught me a great deal in terms of working in an environment that is very fast-paced and moving forward, and having to essentially have a startup mentality. Right. Because there was literally 8 of us. Office was smaller than the boardroom we're sitting in right now. And then to grow that to a 600-man organization and being the leading provider of applications in the Middle East was, I learned something, because every year the business was completely different. You had a different stage of development. So when I came back home, I brought a lot of that experience, and I think it helped me quite a bit. Yeah.
And Mehmood, what is driving you today?
I think that if you look at the last 10 years of what's happened I'm not going to say technology, but just in terms of the lives of people, so much has changed. You go back to 2007, no one had a smartphone. No one could communicate the way they communicate. Citizens and consumers didn't have the freedom that they have now and the power that they have now. And so much of that has changed. But I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see even bigger changes to the way we live our lives. And what drives me is to use all of those, because technological innovation for itself means absolutely nothing. But if you can change people's lives and improve people's lives, that makes a big difference. And that's what inspires me to continue.